Welcome, everybody. I'm really excited that you're able to join us today, and I value your time very much. I'd like to invite you to become a follower and supporter of the Growing Band Repertoire podcast. Now, I'm sure you already listen to the show, and you've got some friends that are listening as well, and we really appreciate that. So if you keep that up, that'd be awesome. But we've now started growingband.com, which is a new website for us, and there's lots of ways you can interact with us. You can follow us on social media channels, including Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube by going on growingband.com and clicking on any of those to follow us. You can also find on there now a new merchandise store, which has the Growing Band Repertoire podcast logo and some sayings on lots of different items on there for men and women. And there's things from t-shirts and sweatshirts to other clothing and accessories. Lots of different options on there with lots of different sizes and colors. Again, a little bit of that money comes back to us at the podcast to help us keep some content going for you. Finally, I'd like to invite you to become a Patreon member. This is a listener-supported show, which means we don't take any ads besides this one. Instead, we rely on listeners like you to keep us going, right? The way to support us is by going to growingband.com and clicking on the Patreon banner. And you can choose either $5 a month, $3 a month, and you'll gain access to the episode notes as well as an audio file of every episode we've done. Among other things, this is where you'll find our repertoire list and all the different repertoire podcasts we've done in the past and will do in the future. So whether it's by clicking on Patreon, following us on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, going to the merchandise store on growingband.com and ordering something for yourself or some family or friends, and also sharing the show with some other people. We really appreciate you being part of the show, and please reach out at any point, and there's a way to do that on growingband.com as well on the Contact Us button. Anyways, let's get to the show. I hope you enjoy it. Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to the Growing Band Repertoire podcast. My name is Kyle Smith, and joining me is my friend and colleague, Jeff Smith. Our mission is to share practical advice and explore topics that will help every band director, no matter your experience level, as well as music education students who are working to join us in the coming years. Together, we will discuss many aspects of a well-rounded band program, but most importantly, we will discuss concepts that help us all improve our own programs each and every day. Always remember the famous quote by Ray Kroc, "When you're green, you're growing, and when you're right, you rot." Let's get started. With the Growing Band Repertoire podcast, and today we are focusing on the unsung heroes, the people who really make programs great, and these are our beginner teachers. We all have had moments where we have students who come to us who have had a great start, and they really flourish because they have their foundational skills down, and they have a great tone, and they have great technique, and they've been taught well from the beginning, and this foundation has been laid for you to then do your best work. We've also had students come to us who are very passionate but don't really have much skills, and for whatever reason, those teachers were not able to do that for those students, and that makes for a hard time in older band for sure. So these beginner teachers are really the foundation for everything we do, and I know we all know that, but I don't think we tell them enough. If you have a program that's 5 to 12, or 6 to 12, or 4 to 12, or whatever it is, the recognition, almost all of it goes to the high school because that's where the kids get good and they go out and perform and compete and do all these things, and that's great. That's important. Then maybe 3 or 4% of the credit goes to the middle school when they go to a festival or for the great things that they do. But on a consistent basis, it's almost always high school. Well, beginning band almost doesn't get it at all. It's all about teaching the kids skills and moving on. And when you find a great beginning band teacher, do everything you can to hold on to them because they're just amazing. In my experience, I have not taught beginning band, but I've learned from a lot of beginning band teachers, and they focus on a couple things primarily. A is got to be tone development, right? Don't skip tone development. So we're talking embouchure, voicing of your mouth, right? I don't know why the words aren't coming to me, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. So getting the foundational stuff set up with your tone, and then also good hand position right? Insisting on good hand position and good tone really are the foundations of everything, and that includes posture, right? Um, I I think there are a lot of teachers who focus on rhythm a lot. The teachers that I've met that I feel like get the best success, including my wife, of course, focus on rhythm almost last. That rhythm is important, sure, but we can't think just about rhythm and forget about the most important things, which is how you sound, right? Tone has to come first. So insisting on a good tone. I mean, if you've got 16 alto saxophones in your room, if you don't insist on a proper embouchure and good tone, you're going to have a pretty short career and not much hair left. So, it's pretty important to be thinking about that. So, have a conversation with the beginning band teacher in your district if it's not you, and ask what they insist on and start having that conversation if you haven't already. It's not rocket science. There's a method to everything, and if you can sort of zero in on what's going to get the best success for your program, that would be, I think, helpful. Let's see what's next here. Okay, a couple hints as well of things that I've heard that work really well from teachers as you're starting. One is the IMMA testing for kids the year before they come to you. So that stands for Instrumental Measures of Music Audiation, and it basically measures the IQ test, the musical IQ test of these students, and they go through a series of recordings and they just answer questions yes or no. And it's not a learned habit. In fact, I got a very bad score on it, but what it does is just measures your musical IQ. And they get a tonal score and a rhythm score. And then, they could be 90th percentile in tone and, 50th percentile in rhythm and all that. And then you get those scores, and then it allows you to line them up with instruments that would work really well, right? So if kids have low tonal scores, first of all, we have to say, if you don't develop a good ear, you're not going to be really good on any instrument, right? But at the beginner level, those students with a lower tonal score usually are moved over to saxophone. And the students with the high tonal scores typically go to brass instruments, right? Especially trombone, and oddly enough, percussion, because percussionists, we would think, kind of have to be the opposite, right? But you're the only one playing your bass drum part in the back of the band, so you've got to fit in your part with everybody else that's going on in front of you with the full band. So the tonal score actually really needs to be high for percussion, in our view. And then they look at the rhythm score. That's nice to know, right? And the size of students' hands will determine sometimes which instruments they go on. Then at the same time, it's really great if your beginning band teachers can meet every student the spring before they come to band and actually have them try. The way we do it is they try a trumpet mouthpiece, a trombone mouthpiece, and a flute head joint. And that's a 3-minute thing for every student. And you can structure that in many different ways, where there's a couple kids at once or one kid at a time or whatever. It definitely takes buy-in and help from the elementary teachers as well to do this. But what it allows you to do is then say, okay, well, Johnny got a quick sound on the flute head joint, not on either one of the brass mouthpieces. Okay, that's good to know. Or they got a really good sound on the trumpet mouthpiece, but couldn't make a flute head joint sound. And if you can't get a child to get a decent buzz or a decent sound on the flute head joint in the first 2 or 3 minutes, there's a good chance that it's going to be a harder instrument for them. So if you take that information along with their IMMA testing tonal and rhythm scores, you can then recommend to students and more importantly to parents, here's a list of instruments your child would succeed at easily or would be a better fit for. And here's a group of instruments that your child might have a harder time with, right? So then the next question, of course, is, well, what if my child really wants to play an instrument that they're not suited for? Well, as long as there's still space in that section, then that's fine. But if your kid's not a hard worker, most parents are not going to put them on the track on an instrument they're not going to be suited on, right? So that's sort of a couple things to think about. So it's not just, hey, I want to play the flute. Actually, my daughter said this. I want to play the flute. It's so pretty. It's like, okay, fine. But she also sounded really good on it too, which is fine. So, if you hadn't heard of those things, hopefully that's a little bit of help for you. I know you're here to hear some beginning band music, but I had to put those plugs in for those beginning band teachers who don't know much about that. And if you have any other questions about that, I have some great resources for you. At any point, you can always check the Growing Band Director website, and on there is all the show notes from all the shows that we have, and ways to contact us as well. So if you want to reach out, I'm happy to send you some people who do all those things at an amazingly high level and have gotten great results for many, many years. All right, on to the music. Okay, so while we're talking about beginning band or grade 0.5 music, here's a definition that music publishers go by, and they ask composers to follow these rules sort of in general. Every publisher is a little bit different, and again, you need to know your students' abilities and what works for them. But the grade half level or beginning band level, this is what it says. Grade 0.5 is music that your beginner student or elementary student would usually play through. It usually encompasses the first 5 or 6 notes a student learns on the instruments. Parts are simplified, quarter, half, and whole notes and rests, doubling across multiple instruments, right? So, usually trumpets are with clarinets and flutes, and there's very little instrument sections specifically. So that's your grade 5 or beginning band. The first piece we're going to listen to is entitled Achieve March, and this is by Larry Clark. Larry Clark's a great writer. He's got a great piece on grade 3 called Ascending I've done, and he's got, I can't think of the other one. Anyway, Larry Clark's a great writer if you haven't heard of his stuff. This is a 2/4 march that introduces march style for these younger students using just the first 6 notes. So let's check it out. Achieve March by Larry Clark. Wouldn't it be nice to get our nice beginning bands to do the rounded out final chord like that? A thought I have forgotten to mention is how you start your percussionists as well. Lend some thought to there are some school districts who decide that they're only going to start percussionists on bells or mallet instruments, and that when they get into 6th grade is when they'll start some of the other instruments, or if when they need it for band music, they'll have one student go over and play each drum and cymbals and things like that. And that's sort of a way to stop it, so you don't have 15,000 snare drummers all the time, and you can actually hear yourselves. So just a plug for that if you haven't done that before. And again, that was Achieve March by Larry Clark. The next piece we're going to listen to is, by Paul Lavender, called Homework Blues. This is an obsession piece. A lot of students get super obsessed with this piece. It's actually, there's a small version of it in I believe it's a Sound Innovations Book 1. And then there's also this larger one that students can do as a full band. This uses the 6-note range with only the alto saxophone going to their E and F sharp. And there's more moving notes for brass. So let's check this out. Homework Blues by Paul Lavender. Again, that was Homework Blues by Paul Lavender. And again, that was, I know it says it in the title, but that was a blues. So a 12-bar blues, you can start students learning about the chord progression of a 12-bar blues, which is 4 bars of the 1 chord, 2 bars of the 4 chord, 2 bars of the 1 chord, 2 bars of the 5 chord, 2 bars of the 1 chord. And what I like about that too is the low instruments also get their moments to shine as the upper instruments are resting as well. And the percussion part, there's even a ride cymbal part in there. So that's a great piece. Okay, the next piece we're going to listen to is entitled The Broken Marionette. And you know someone's a great composer when they can write grade 5 music like Brian Balmages does, and also down to the beginning band level. So this is by Brian Balmages called The Broken Marionette. This fun and somewhat whimsical dance depicts a broken marionette that is attempting to dance, but struggles because of tangled strings and other problems. Eventually, it appears that the marionette has found its way, only to unravel completely while the curtain begins to come down. One last hurrah helps leave a smile with the audience just before the curtain closes completely. Fun and extremely unique for this level. So let's check out The Broken Marionette by Brian Balmages. Okay, the next piece I actually cannot find. Well, getting a recording to this one might not be super helpful. I think you should probably try to find it on your own. This piece is a complete riot and hoot, and it's 8 minutes long, but it's like the entire concert for the beginners. This is called Aunt Rhodey's Appetite by Joseph Campello. This is a Carl Fisher piece. Again, Aunt Rhodey's Appetite. You got to look it up on YouTube and check it out. Here's what they say about it. Imagine an 8-minute concert for your beginner players, complete with narration and props that lets your band tell a story through the music they've learned in their lessons. Classic tunes such as Go Tell Aunt Rhodey, Funeral March, French folk song, Hot Cross Buns, Mary Had a Little Lamb, and Lightly Row tell the tale of Aunt Rhodey preparing for her holiday feast. With breaks for narration, young players won't get worn out. The staging possibilities are endless, and the students will love the opportunity to interact with school administrators and teachers. This is one your audience will long remember. We did this a couple times in Westbrook, and we've had other teachers come in and play the part of Aunt Rhodey, and there's the part of the chef, and all these things. It's really, really great way to get some other people involved with your band concert as well. So Aunt Rhodey's Appetite is one you got to check out on your own for sure. The next piece we're going to listen to is by Rob Grice, and it's entitled Shine. And what's great about Shine is it actually introduces eighth notes in a very small way to, again, just in a sort of a perfect time to use it. Now, that being said, I don't really believe you should usually introduce things within the piece that they haven't learned already. Now, that's a topic for a whole other couple episodes of podcasts, but, when you're teaching a new student a new concept or a new rhythm, they need to have their own time on it with worksheets and things that you create and all that. Then when they get to practice it when it's in the book. So I sort of said that wrong. They should have an idea about how eighth notes are, but in this piece they get to use it. So here's Shine by Rob Grice. Again, that's Rob Grice, great composer, especially for young band. If you haven't heard Rob's stuff, we've featured a number of his on the Grade 1 podcast as well. That's Shine. The next piece we're going to listen to is titled, the composer is Jack Wilds, and this is entitled Across the Serengeti. Across the Serengeti is a musical portrait of the grassy plains of Tanzania and Kenya. Using only 6 notes, this piece establishes and sustains an infectious rhythm that students and audiences will thoroughly enjoy. Percussionists have plenty to do and provide a vital component to the orchestration. So let's check it out. Across the Serengeti, this is FJH Music by Jack Wilds. What a great little piece that is for that grade level. I can see why kids like that for sure and why it was recommended. Again, that is Across the Serengeti by Jack Wilds. Next piece we're going to listen to is, again, by one of the staple writers. I've mentioned him many times before. This is Michael Sweeney piece called Gallant March. And this is, looking for a terrific first march to build confidence in your beginning band. This is the one that you've been looking for. This one is definitely one where the lower voices get the melody for a section of it as well. I think it's four measures. And it's part of the Essential Elements 2000 book. So let's check out Gallant March by Michael Sweeney. Again, that was Gallant March by Michael Sweeney. I know that brought a lot of you back. A lot of you played that piece, and a lot of you have programmed that piece before. But hopefully some of you haven't, and you've learned a new great piece. Does it strike anybody else when you hear these beginning band recordings played by these professional groups? It's like you're not used to hearing the piece with such good tone. You know, we do a good job with our beginner band students, but they're beginner band students, right? And then you hear them with these people who are playing with this nice tone and good balance and all that. And I get a kick out of that. Okay, the next piece we're going to listen to is called High Adventure by Paul Lavender. This is also from the Essential Elements 2000. Your band will sound bold and impressive with this dynamic overture from Paul Lavender, a great opener for your first concert. And it's has solid scoring and strong melodies, and it's very highly recommended by the publisher. Of course it is. But this piece is a really great way to open a concert for beginning bands. So let's check out High Adventure by Paul Lavender. Okay, the next piece we're going to listen to, and we have two left. This is entitled Inception by Joseph Campello. Joseph Campello is the same composer who wrote Aunt Rhoda's Appetite. And Inception is super cool. It has a tambourine part in that's used a lot, especially during the middle and end of it. And let's see. Oh, that's right. It's in Dorian minor. So C is the home note of this one, even though it is in the key of B flat note still as well. And this, even though it's not from the movie Inception, as cool as that would be, students in our town have been in love with this piece, even as they get older. So this is sort of one of those pieces kids really gravitate to. So here's Inception. Okay, that was Inception. Again, great piece. We've had a lot of kids who love that piece. And our final piece of the podcast is going to be entitled Stonehenge by the great writer Michael Story, who's been writing for such a long time. And if you don't know his work, it's worth going back and checking out a lot of his catalog as well. Michael Story is a great writer. This is called Stonehenge. Experience the mystery and intrigue that has surrounded this prehistoric monument through history. Wonderfully descriptive, this opening begins soft and builds, capturing the enormous scope of this unique wonder. Bold and majestic, this is impressive writing for first-year players. That's what J.W. Pepper has to say about it, and I believe it. So let's check out Stonehenge by Michael Story.
We sincerely appreciate you taking your valuable time and listening to the Growing Band Director podcast. Your students are very lucky to have a band director like you. If you have any suggestions for episode topics or think you have an area of expertise to share on a show with us, please reach out. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to help spread the word, please give us a 5-star review and tell your band director friends to subscribe as well. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our YouTube channel, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening to The Growing Band Director. See you next week.